Hey guys, welcome to the Canada Puck Podcast, your weekly recap of what's going on in the world of sports, specifically hockey, and specifically in the great nation of Canada. I'm your co-host, Mick, and I'm talking with a funny voice today for no reason. You can find me on Twitter at ProfitMick, and I'm going to imaginary throw ball to my co-host above me. Whoop! And he caught it!
Grant! On Twitter at Fourth Line Sports.
Yeah.
I was struggling. I was like, Mick, what does Mick remind me of? With your cool new mustache, you know what it is? You know those bodybuilders who used to lift those weights with like the onesie? What are they called? Whatever they call, and like the round balls. Like that's what you remind me of. It finally just clicked.
Nice. Yeah, a little bit of a throwback. Sometimes my face just looks like this. We were talking about this when we kind of started. I don't remember shaving, but this is what's happening. So deal with it.
A picture easily recognizable on the back of milk cartons. So don't anybody try and steal Mick, because we'll find him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't. It's like bat signal, just shine up into the air, and that's where I am. So,
is that the odor or Mick's mustache? Doesn't matter. Follow both.
We'll get him, boy. So if you're new to the show, welcome. We are going to do a kind of a quick recap of what happened this week in hockey. I know I said that off the top, but we'll run through some headlines. It might look a little different today because I think there's a trade deadline that we can recap, which is a lot of fun. Got a little bit of fantasy advice and gambling advice, so we're going to help making you money. So it's the best part of Blake shows.
Yep, poop slinging episode of Canada Puck. It's crazy. We're like a month away from the end of the season. Like we are officially post trade deadline in the home stretch. Like we are getting into playoff season. I'm fucking that lull that we were talking about a few weeks ago. I think I'm out of it. Like I'm ready for this.
I wonder if it's because the postseason should be starting right now, right? Like we should have almost playoff hockey. It's that kind of the time of the year, but just due to the kind of the goofy schedule, the late start, it's been delayed just ever so slightly. So I wonder if that's why we were kind of feeling kind of like those dog days of spring. Do spring have dog days?
Maybe we should bottle this feeling and save it for July, and then we can compare dog days of spring versus dog days of summer.
All right. I'll get an old milk jug after this, and we'll see what we can do. So, see what we can do. Nah, you know what? I don't care about the other divisions. Let's just do trade. So, courtesy of our friends at tsn.ca, we've got the trade trackers. We'll do a little bit of a recap. A week long, we've had these trades have simmered in our heads. We've seen some of them on ice, and let's talk about them a little bit. So I feel like as we were talking last time, Brandon Montour was traded to Florida. Devan Dubnyk was traded to Colorado. Do any of those do anything for you?
I think the Dubnyk trade, I don't know. I'm trying to understand it from the Avs perspective. I get that you want to lighten the load, the goaltending load, but at the same time, we're like a month away from the postseason. The only thing you're worried about is potentially securing home ice advantage against the Knights in the second round of the playoffs. Is it worth the risk? Like, is it worth giving up something to have home ice advantage in an arena that has no fans?
I think it was more of a kind of a counter to what happened last year in the postseason, where Michael Hutchison was their starting goalie in a Game 7 and basically cost them a chance of going to the Cup. So I think Sakic was probably just trying to mitigate that happening again this year. So, yay, Devan Dubnyk.
Yeah, nothing against Dubnyk. I'm glad that he looked good in his first start. I think he stopped like 92% of shots. But I think I was just struggling. Like after I sat down and processed it, I was like, this kind of doesn't make sense. Like they have a number one goalie, or at least you would think that, Grubauer is their number one goalie. Why make the trade? Like why give up an asset for a guy who's going to play maybe 10 games down the stretch? Like, and that's like overshooting it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they think like they're that close, and like it's just that weird random luck, right? And that it's that Dubnyk has to start a Game 7, they win it, they go to the Stanley Cup Finals. Like, really, it's worth all the assets at that point. Like, really, if you get a championship, you care if you have like if you lost all your draft picks, but you got a championship, would you do it? Probably.
Yeah, and I gotta just roll with this. Did you just see? Because I just saw it on my phone. Did you see the Avs and Kings game was postponed tonight?
I saw that earlier when I was kind of looking at lines. COVID?
Is that what it is? Do you know which team it is?
I don't know. I don't know where it came from. It just kind of randomly popped up there, so I was like, that's unfortunate. So
that is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But moving up the trade list.
There was Tampa Bay did a interesting move by moving David Savard to Columbus moved David Savard to Detroit. Then they moved David Savard to Tampa Bay. So it was kind of a 3-team deal, which essentially equated to Tampa Bay picking up 25% of David Savard's contract. It looks like they gave up a third, a first, a fourth, and some guy named Brian Lashoff. Kind of fun.
So Brian Lashoff actually went from Detroit to Tampa. So I think the Bolts ended up with 2 defensemen in this trade.
Okay.
But one thing that we have to keep track of here is how little the Tampa Bay Lightning actually value first-round draft picks. David Savard is not a first-round draft pick kind of player. Neither was Barclay Goodrow last year when they traded for him. Yeah. And I don't know why they think that they can get by without drafting players in the first round, but this is going to catch up with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things, again, like, I guess to my point to Colorado, if they win the Cup again in 2 years, like, you care? Do you just kind of figure it and, like, ride it out into the sunset, right? It's kind of like the Chicago thing. Like, is Chicago lamenting not having a couple first-round picks right now? Not really. Like, it's kind of live for the now, go for the glory. And yes, that trade makes sense, and as I'm seeing it, Brian Lashoff did end up in Tampa. It's kind of confusing the way they have it laid out here on the website, so...
Yeah, I think they broke that up into 3 trades, and then it was kind of hard to keep track of. But, like, yeah, I get going all in. I just, like, man, at a certain point, you have to think that it's going to catch up with them. You can't continue to just trade your first-round draft picks for guys who are going to come, you can't afford to sign, and then they go and sign somewhere else after you win the Cup. I'm struggling. I think long-term this is going to affect the Bolts. Right now, sure, I get it. I buy into what, let's go for it. Let's win the Cup. It's a cycle that is going to eventually come back and bite the Bolts.
And when they stumble hard, right? Like, remember the Blackhawks were unstoppable. You couldn't beat them. They got swept by the Predators a couple years ago, and that was it. Like, the dynasty was done like that, right? So it's going to come fast. It's going to come hard for the damn Tampa Bay Lightnings. A couple non-consequential trades. I'm not going to try and... Like John Merrill? I don't care about John Merrill. Get out of here. Do you care about John Merrill?
Well, you know what? Now I have to prove a point about John Merrill. I wish I could, spout some tidbit about him. But where did he end up? He went from Detroit to the Abs?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I was paying attention on trade deadline.
Cool.
Moving up. All
right. So now we got a couple moves involving the Buds here. Looks like... because San Jose was involved in this deal, were they not? Essentially the Leafs got Stefan Noisen and Nick Foligno. They gave up a first-round pick, a fourth, and it looks like another fourth. So San Jose retained about 50% of Foligno's contract, ended up with a fourth-round pick, and Columbus got a first and a fourth for their efforts. So Nick Foligno to the Leafs. Not bad.
I kind of bought into, I was wondering, when I saw this trade went off, I was like, man, like, that seems like a big ask for Nick Foligno. Then I looked into his metrics. He's like a Swiss Army knife, like an A-plus Swiss Army knife. Does a little bit of everything right. I haven't seen him in a Leafs jersey yet. Have you? Have you watched any of the Leafs games? Has he played with the Leafs yet?
No, so he was going to arrive in Toronto, I think, on the Monday, maybe Tuesday, and then he was looking at a 7 to 10 day quarantine from there, right? So, like, he's not going to suit up till maybe later in this week against Vancouver. Great. Great. He's in this quarantine, and then he's moving into basically COVID City. So, good job, Nick.
Yeah. Shoot. Way to think that one through, Dick.
Yeah, that's too bad. So, no, I think it's one of those things where that first-round asset, it looks like a bit of an overprice, but the fact they're only getting 25% of his salary, that's the big thing. It's like $1.25 million, so super close to just kind of like a minimum contract. And I think that's where that value comes from, and I think that's kind of one of the things why the Savard was worth, like the defenseman was worth that first-round pick, was because of that flip-flopping, right? Because they ended up only with like such a small fraction. I think that's why there was a bit of an overprice there. The Leafs, look, let's face it, they're heaping with talent. right? Their top 6 are some of the best in the league, but they're really missing those heart and soul guys. Nick Foligno, he beat the Leafs last year. He upset the Bolts the year before. He was the captain of those squads. He's the heart and soul. They don't need talent. They need heart and soul. That's what they got with Foligno.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. One thing that I was thinking, I can't remember, I think I put this down on the internet somewhere, but Nick Foligno and Wayne Simmons on a line, like, that's going to be a havoc line. Like, that is, who was the other? Engvall? So, like, we're talking about Foligno, Simmons, and Engvall on a line. Like, good luck fucking around with that line.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and exactly. Like, you get the guys like the heart and soul, like the Spetzas and stuff like that, right? Those guys that can throw little flashes. Should be fun. And I'm going to scroll up just a little bit more because, look, we got the Ottawa Senators showing up. They traded Mike Riley for a 3rd-round pick.
Good for them for getting something. I mean,
yeah.
They've had a good track record with their draft pick, so maybe the 3rd-round pick turns out to be something a lot cooler than what we're expecting it to be. And if Mike Riley was a guy who wasn't coming back, then, they got something for him. Good for them.
Sweet. Right above them, David Rittich was moved to the Leafs from the Flames for a 3rd-round pick. Insurance, because you don't want Michael Hutchison starting in the postseason. That's kind of what it comes down to, I think, with that one, right? Like, you're moving that asset, you're picking up a piece. Goaltending's a little bit of an issue for them right now. And then there was that little bit of a video of that poor little guy who was a Rittich fan who got traded. I don't know if you saw that. It's heartbreaking. His dad's explaining to him that Rittich isn't playing on the Flames anymore. He's like, why? Give all the credit in the world to David Rittich. He ended up giving him a FaceTime later, sent him some memorabilia to cheer him up. You gotta love good guys like that, right? The guys between him and Campbell, are they playing for like nicest hockey player in the world awards? Because like that's kind of what it's looking like.
Could you imagine just the damage they're going to do in Toronto nightclubs when COVID's over? Like, you're interview. Like, those guys are going to get some poontang. One thing that I do have to mention, though, because it's kind of curious to me from the Flames' perspective, they are making a push for the playoff spot, and they trade away their backup goaltender. They forced Markstrom into a 3-4 night coming into tonight, and it obviously cost them tonight. I don't know if they thought this through. Like, if you're really trying to make a wholesome push for the playoffs, but you trade your backup goalie, like, I don't know. A little confused.
So 2 notes, you did freeze there when you were doing your little bit about the nightclub. So on the video portion, anyways, it's just going to be funny, and all you do is come back with some poontang. Classic. You see me panicking and like making a face, and that comes back, and I was like, all right, that segment was worth it. The silence was worth it. Yeah, I mean, the Flames did kind of look like they were on a downward spiral. They were tied with the Canucks. The Canucks haven't played in like 2-3 weeks because of COVID. They weren't looking good. I kind of almost wonder if there's a bit of a divide between players and management, and I kind of almost wonder if this last week was a bit of an FU to management from kind of the players' point of view, right? And we don't see them come back down to earth a little bit, so.
Sorry, you're talking about the Flames?
I'm saying the Flames, right? So the Flames are looking like, you're trading us off, you're counting us out, screw you, we're going to go win some games, we're going to get into the postseason and screw up your whole plan. Dummies.
Yeah.
Right.
Good luck getting a top 10 draft pick now, dicks.
Yeah, like it almost kind of looks like it's that, right? So you're like, and I mean, you get them going any way you can, I suppose. So, oh look, we scroll back up, man. Toronto or Canada's all over the place. Braden Coburn was sent to the Islanders for a 7th-round pick.
You'll have to excuse my ignorance on this one, but has Braden Coburn been playing in the NHL this entire time?
Yeah, like if Braden Coburn isn't making the Senators roster, I feel like he's probably worth a 7th-round pick. So, great. Above that, though, here's a trade we should talk about. Taylor Hall and Curtis Lazar were moved to Boston for a 2nd-round pick and a guy named Bjork. So,
like the singer?
I think so. Yeah.
The Finnish folk singer. Man, talk about versatility.
Yeah, Bjork. So tell us why the Buffalo Sabres. What kind of versatility are they getting with Bjork coming forward? A 24-year-old prospect. I'm thinking like, oh, maybe it's Boston's like top prospect in their system. He's 24 years old. He hasn't made the NHL yet. He's like struggling. Good job, Taylor Hall.
Well, let's just talk a little bit about what a bag of dick Taylor Hall is. if that's the type of price you're commanding, and you know what the best part in all of this? He tries to prove a point to drive to Boston so that he can play against his former team the next night. Did Boston lose that game in overtime? Or
no,
maybe it just went to maybe Boston won in overtime.
I think
now.
so.
I think it was 3-2 Boston.
Yeah, because he got an assist, a helper, and then he scored last night, whoever they beat or something like that. So he's had a pretty good performance. He's obviously turning it on a little bit. And
yeah, we'll see. I don't know. He has that losing curse that he's brought everywhere with him. I don't know if he's going to fit in with Boston's culture. Because when I think of Boston Bruins players, I think of guys who do everything and lay it on the line. Taylor Hall gets stepped on in warm-up, and that's all he can do. And then he leaves for 2 months, and then he goes from team to team to team. Taylor Hall, where are you? Like, do something. Maybe he does do something. Maybe I'm going to eat a big slice of humble pie on this one, but so long, Boston Bruins chances.
Yeah. And I mean, it's one of those things, too. Like, those two American divisions are going to be tough. And, like, you know, like, it's going to be the Bruins. It's going to be the Penguins, the Islanders, the Capitals. Like, that's going to be a freaking slugfest. It's going to be some good hockey. And, I mean, like, if he's the leading scorer for the Boston Bruins, great. I don't know if that's going to happen. I think there's some pretty stiff competition out there. So, good job, Taylor. Let's see. Jeff Carter was moved to the Penguins.
I love that move. I absolutely love that move. I don't know. The Pittsburgh Penguins always just find this way to bring in a scoring winger, and it always pays off.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing some deep diving into. I hate that I'm not more original, but hockey cards, Sidney Crosby rookie cards are like underpriced compared to everyone else, and in my mind, Sidney Crosby is going to go down as like a easily top 10. Like, I don't know if he's going to get to the scoring records, but like, he's pretty good. He's won his cups. He's like the golden goal. I feel like at some point he's going to get this thing. So the more postseason accolades, the better players they come in, the fact that he stays relevant for a while. Like, from a trading card market, if you're into that, like, Sidney Crosby rookie cards are probably a good place to put some money now, because sit on them for 10 years. When he retires, goes in the Hall of Fame, millionaire. Boom.
So, yeah, if you can't tell, Mick's on a bit of a hockey card kick right now.
It's got the itch, huh? Got the itch. Speaking of itches that we need to get rid of, Adam Gaudette, Mr. COVID himself, was moved to Chicago, so good job.
When I saw that trade, I couldn't help but think, are the Chicago Blackhawks trying to sabotage their own season?
Yeah, maybe at that point. It's a shame. I don't know much about Vancouver. They haven't played for a while. Haven't paid that much attention. But I'm thinking, like, that is kind of a FU. Obviously, Gaudette did something that they felt probably wasn't on par, and they persecuted him for it. I don't think it's a good look from the organization. Apparently, Matthew Highmore, though, is... they were saying nice things about him on Monday, so yay.
I don't know anything about that, but I trust your analysis on this one.
All right. Oh, hey, we get to talk about the Oilers next. That's pretty exciting. So the Oilers traded a conditional draft pick for a Dmitry Kulikov. That's what you needed, right? D-man?
It's not exactly what we needed. And I wasn't, like, super enamored right off the bat, but then I did a deep dive into Kulikov, and he actually does have some defensive value. I don't know what the role they have carved out for him. They've already got a surplus of defensemen, most of which are young players, so I don't know if they're bringing him in to pair him with a young player so that they could put him on a line with, like, a Caleb Jones, or they could put him on a line with William Lagesson, and, you know, for a shutdown defensive pairing role. Because to me, we already have Chris Russell. Chris Russell's one of those, I call them replacement level players. He's a replacement level player that just doesn't give up a whole bunch. And you could basically plug like half the league into a replacement level spot, and they do the exact same thing. Kulikov is, I would say, slightly above replacement level. Like, he seems a little quicker. He seems to make that first pass a little quicker. So I don't know if this is a plan to, like, bring him in for a second pairing role with a young guy, or if they want this guy, if they just want him to be like a mentor off the ice, or like in a depth role, whatever the case may be. I like the move. I don't know what they have planned for him, and I think that's the part that I'm just like, what are you going to do with him?
Cool. Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, that's... I kind of mentioned on the last podcast, I wouldn't be surprised if the Oilers were a little bit quiet, because they did kind of... They made some big moves last year, right? Like, they were kind of movers and shakers that didn't really do anything, so I do kind of wonder... They had a pretty good, nice offseason. Like, we liked it. They're in a good place in the standings, so I kind of wonder if this is just that little bit of insurance in case something happens. You need that depth on defense is important in the postseason, right? And they're just kind of saying, go for it, boys.
Yeah, I'm sure that's part of it.
Part of it, yeah, exactly. Let's see. So we got Matthias Janmark went to the Vegas Knights. I don't know if I care too much. Oh, Carl Soderberg went to Colorado again.
Was he traded to Chicago and then he got traded back to Colorado?
Maybe he signed. I feel like he signed somewhere, because I think he signed around the same time that the Canucks signed somebody, and it was like they were like Soderberg signed with like less term, less money, and the Vancouver Canucks for no reason overpaid somebody who like metric wise was worse than Carl Soderberg. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking as a free agent signing, because I kind of feel like I was making fun of Vancouver when that happened. So,
well, any chance we can get, we'll get those digs in.
Yeah, but another Calgary team to talk about. So Sam Bennett was moved for Heyman and a second-round pick to the Florida Panthers. So it's not a bad return. Like, I mean, shit, that's what Taylor Hall fetched you, right? And good job.
Yeah. We all know who's the better player between Sam Bennett and Taylor Hall, as much as it kills me to say that. I do love the pickup for Florida, though. I think Florida, like the way that they play, and it's a defensive brand of hockey, if they can get Aaron Ekblad back in time for the postseason, and I don't know, I can't remember even what the status...
Yeah.
What was it?
I think he might be done for the season. I think
if it's a meniscus.
Yeah, well, and meniscus are different too, because I've heard that you can just get them, like, guys will just get them removed and then go on. But if you're trying to get them repaired, that's where it takes more time to recover too. I think he might be done.
If it was a meniscus injury, I was like, all right, he could potentially be back in time for the playoffs. If it was ligaments, he's done. He's screwed. He's not coming back till next year.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick dive here. Who's next on the list?
If we scroll up ever so slightly. Oh, we get an Eric Gustafsson for a 7th-round pick to the Montreal Canadiens. So they moved Victor Mete. I think that was kind of one of the moves on waivers. The Ottawa Senators picked Victor Mete up from the Canadiens. So Eric Gustafsson, again, they're just bringing in that defensive depth. We're seeing that kind of across the board. That was really kind of one of the themes of this trade deadline, was just kind of adding that extra piece. And I think that's kind of what Gustafsson brings for you, right? Like, kind of big toted guy. We thought he was going to be something special, and now he's worth a 7th-round pick. So probably better than Braden Coburn, though. So, like, if I had to pick, I'd take a Gustafsson over a Coburn at this point.
Absolutely. Gustafsson, too. I think he was an Oilers draft pick, but he just seems to get shipped from place to place to place, never pans out. He had this super high ceiling, but now if we're equating him to Braden Coburn, he's definitely fallen from grace. Ekblad, it was a left leg fracture. They don't say which bone. Out for 12 weeks, and that was as of the end of March. So 3 months. So, like, if things went exceptionally well for them, maybe he would be back in time for, like,
Conference?
the end of the playoffs.
Yeah.
If they made to the finals, maybe he would be back for them. But
well,
otherwise, yeah, you're right. Sounds like he's done.
Yeah. Again, depth defenseman. We got a Ben Hutton. Came from Anaheim to Toronto for a 5th-round pick. Again, that depth D. Does a really nice rendition of Barbie Girl, so it's kind of fun.
I saw that video too. I just have to say, so let's say, hypothetically, Mick and Grant, old times, having beers at a bar. If we saw a guy do that, would we not try and fight him?
I forget. I think it was Thug Nasty who was saying he figured it was like a rookie initiation kind of thing. Like, it wasn't by choice. Like, somebody probably picked the song and he just went with it. So they're saying, like, he's probably like a good character guy, just rolled with the punches. He figured it probably wasn't exactly his choice. So, well, probably. Yes. To answer your question, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess that makes it a little better.
Eric Okay, so now we talked about Eric Gustafson. Eric Goodbranson. Sounds very similar. Interesting. Was traded to Nashville from Ottawa. They got a third-round pick and a Brandon Foranto? Yeah. No, not saying that one.
All right. I can't wait to look at the actual name and see who it was.
Fortunato? Fortunato. Sure, why not?
Yeah, I don't recall that trade off the top of my head, so I think it's safe to say probably didn't register on the radar.
Yeah. All right, cool. If we scroll up, I saw a Leafs trade. They got rid of Barbanoff to San Jose. I think it was just they had too many contracts at that point. They kind of picked up too many people, so they had to move someone out. Hayden Fleury was moved to the Ducks. Seems like they're giving up on a highly touted young prospect a couple of years ago and just moving him out for a 6th-round pick. I don't know, it seems kind of premature. Good move from the Ducks, right? Young guy, has some potential.
And that was kind of the Ducks had so much depth at defense, and they just started shipping guys out, and then all of a sudden they had no depth at defense. I love the move for the Ducks because you're right. This guy, I don't know how he fell into favor with Carolina, but he is still a guy with a ton of potential who is still young, still in his development years. This could be a sneaky good move for the Ducks. Talk about buying low. This is a huge buy low move.
Well, speaking about overflowing systems, the Carolina Hurricanes just kind of ended up with a plethora of really good defensemen, right? You talked about where people are going to trade for defensemen. Carolina was always mentioned. So, eventually guys just get shuffled so far down the line, they're not getting ice time. They look worse than they probably are, right? So, yeah, great move from the Anaheim Ducks, and you don't say that too often. Michael Raffle went to the Capitals. Jordy Ben went to the Winnipeg Jets from the Canucks. I feel like the Jets needed defensive help. I don't know if Jordy Ben is that piece.
Where did he come from? Was it Vancouver?
Vancouver for 6th.
Yeah, I didn't look into that one. That was kind of one that I just kind of glossed over. Well, but I don't know if Ben is the answer. He's I equate him to the Chris Russell. If I think about Vancouver Canucks Chris Russell, it's Jordy Ben. Maybe he fits in Winnipeg with their system because they need somebody to basically patrol their own end. But he's definitely not the presence that you would expect the Jets to crave or want heading into what they're hoping to be as a deep playoff run. Well,
and it's just so weird too, especially the way this is lining up. We can almost point out, Hayden Fleury, 6th-round pick. Jordy Ben, 6th-round pick. I feel like one of those things is not like the other, but they probably don't have time to develop him. They kind of need someone that can play now, so I guess that's the difference. Madison Bowie went to the Canucks from the Blackhawks. Sure, why not? Oh, here we go. This is the last deal of the day. This was a bit of a big one. Bit of a head-scratcher almost. So Detroit gets Vran, Panic, a 1st and a 2nd in 21 and 22 respectively for Anthony Mantha. Cool.
Steve Yzerman will go down as the greatest GM in hockey history. The way that he's making these shrewd trades. I don't know how he gets 2 above-average players plus 2 picks for Anthony Mantha, who I think had, 27 points on the season?
Yeah, well, and they were saying, lots of these are rental deals, they're picks, they're kind of inconsequential, they're depth pieces. This trade that came in at the very end was a hockey deal, right? Washington overpaid, 100% overpaid for Mantha. Him and Varan aren't that different on paper. I mean, maybe Mantha's a little bit better, and then they moved all these pieces, right? It's the Martin Erat for Philip Forsberg trade almost all over again, right? You look at that trade and you're like, well, Washington really screwed up that one, right? They would have loved to have a Philip Forsberg in their system at some point. So, kudos, Steve. My cap off to you, sir.
Don't think that we're just going to gloss over that Stump the Schwab type knowledge of Martin Erat for Philip Forsberg. That's a pretty impressive trade to remember off the top of your head.
Why do I remember that? I remember that because I don't know. It was something because his name was Forsberg. I feel like because his name was Forsberg, and somehow Forsberg was traded early on in his career or something like that. I remember thinking, I'm like, I bet you that guy becomes something. For no reason outside of the fact he shares a name similar to Peter, so...
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Like, I think sometimes maybe we should just turn our Canada Puck podcast into, I invite random drunks off the street to try and test your sports knowledge.
Oh my gosh. You know what? You can find Stump the Schwab on YouTube. It's really nice. Like,
is he still alive?
I don't know what happened to him.
Disappeared.
But yeah, like it's a throwback. Like Stuart Scott in his prime, like he's killing it. Like Schwab, and some of the contestants are like just such boneheads too. You know.
But that's definitely one of those. People are gonna forget Martin Yerat was traded from Forsberg at the 2013 trade deadline.
Oh, I got a Schwab thing going with my little jerseys and stuff. Oh shoot, I didn't even. All right,
we gotta get you those little glasses too, without frames. I think or like razor thin frames.
Yeah. All right. I mean, you got big shoes to fill with Stuart Scott there, so hopefully you know what you're getting into. But that's kind of it for trades. All in all. Not a terrible day. Like, I thought it was going to be super quiet based on the fact that there's quarantines coming. I honestly think this draft year is going to suck, right? In all sports across the board. I heard that last season, kind of before football started, there was a trade. CHL's not running. So these guys have limited development. Hockey seasons are shorter. Guys are putting bench presses in their parents' dressing rooms, right? Like, these guys have had such stunted development. It's going to be a coin flip almost every single pick. There's no scouting going on unless you're pulling guys from the Russias or the Swedens, you know, those systems that are kind of up and running. So I think moving picks right now, not a terrible idea. And
so the WHL is actually playing a season right now. A very limited season, kind of like the Junior A. They're trying to get what they can in here in Alberta. I think, if I remember correctly, the Red Deer Rebels are living in the rink for their 28-game schedule. So that is, they are just like, they have emptied out all the press boxes or all the luxury suites, and they put beds in there for their hockey players.
I mean, like, kudos, dedication, but I feel bad for, 15 to 16, 17-year-old kind of guys that are looking to get scouted, want to go on to university, other aspirations. Like, my heart goes out to those poor kids because, like, they are missing out on a lot. I know everyone in the world's missing out on a lot, right? And then those kids that are, like, around the draft ages too, right? Just not getting the lights. The Memorial Cup was canceled, right? Like, that's not going on. So that's kind of that's too bad. But again, it's one of those things where people that are a little bit loosey-goosey with draft capital at this point, I don't know if it's going to be like the end of the world. It's not going to be like you're looking back and you're like, oh, I can't believe we traded, the Olympic line or something like that this year. I don't think that's going to happen. So
I honestly think that we should make a stab at being drafted. And with all the limited scouting, we just put our names on a piece of paper. Hey, look, there's this 6'3" guy, 260-pound forward that we can draft. I feel like my stats alone would probably get me drafted, maybe 7th round.
That's not it's not terrible. Can we submit nicknames? Can you be the Grant White Shark? Is that a thing that you can go into the draft and be like, oh, that guy, oh man, the Sharks are like, that's perfect marketing. We can sell this guy. Be on every lunch pail across San Jose.
Come on. San Jose's position in the world is so bad that they would absolutely draft me for marketing capital.
Done.
Absolutely.
Done. It's like people will finally talk about the San Jose Sharks. I can see it on the papers right now. I like how old-timey they are in San Jose.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. He froze again. I'm sure he said something funny.
So, I'm going to look into it.
All right, but that's perfect. Great. Quickly, we kind of chatted. Nothing really major changed in the Honda West. So we can go by Discover Central. Ooh, Florida and Tampa Bay in the first round. That's how it stands right now. There's obviously lots of hockey to play. That might be a good series. Mass Mutual East. Oh, Boston's got a good lead. They've got kind of a 4-point cushion over the Rangers. The Flyers are kind of nipping at their heels. I say Taylor Hall makes it and get the Capitals in the first round. So that sounds fun. I'm not going too fast, am I? Just kind of breezing through those other divisions.
This is what it's like to live inside Mick's head.
Yeah.
He just kind of goes from thought to thought to thought. You gotta think fast to keep up.
Yeah, I was like, I kind of feel like we talked about everyone else. Nothing really. I mean, I realized there was hockey played. I did not watch a lot of hockey because they were all blacked out games this week. What the heck's going on? Anything that we didn't touch on that happened this week in Senators land? You want to talk about quick?
I just got to build off of that blackout thing because, like, I got an ad on my Instagram feed and, like, oh yeah, tune in, buy this pass for NHL, $100 every game. And the comment section, I would say it was probably 400 comments of people just complaining about blackouts. And I liked every one of them. I was like, this is great. I'm glad everybody despises the league as much as I do.
Perfect. I think that's the best Senators segment we ever did. Calgary Flames. We talked about
Calgary.
They won a couple games this week, right? Like, I feel like if they lost a game, they're probably going to lose tonight. Looks like they're going to lose to Montreal. But other than that, they were playing okay hockey.
They beat Toronto in overtime, then they beat the Habs on the first night. They ended up losing tonight. But again, Markstrom started 3 or 4 games. I harped on this last week with Jake Allen, I think, to say, hey, why are you doing this? And that paid off. And I took the exact same approach tonight. A little more stressful tonight, but Habs pulled it off. Who's the other team? San Jose. San Jose also did this with Martin Jones. And on the third night, I think he let in 5 goals on 21 shots. Or no, 4 goals on 21 shots. And then Allen was 5 goals on 25 shots. I didn't look at the shot totals tonight, but obviously Markstrom fared a little better. Still ended up losing. They need him to be exactly what he has been, but they can't expect him to do that every night for the rest of the season. So yeah. I think it's just a formality before the playoffs or the Flame season ends before the playoffs.
Yeah. Montreal, Carey Price maybe is back in action. Did I see that correctly? No, not yet. No. Okay. All right. Anything else with them? There.
Cole Caulfield, actually. He took to the ice. I don't know if he played tonight, but he was practicing with the team. So dipped his toes in the AHL. Maybe they were comfortable enough to bring him up tonight, but he's one of those like high leverage guys who is going to change how the Habs offense operates, and that is they need a finisher, and that's exactly what Cole Caulfield is. Doing a quick search here. Does not look like he played tonight.
All right. Oilers haven't played this week, have they? They're just like randomly absent?
They had one game against the Canucks that was postponed tonight.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 2 games. I can't remember. They play the Jets tomorrow night. They're off that 5-0 loss to Calgary last week. Mm-hmm. I think the one thing that was noteworthy in that game, I had no idea that Colby Cave's memorial was scheduled right before the game. Like, imagine putting an NHL team through that. And I know McDavid mentioned it in the news or in the media. That's a shitty thing to do, man. Like, these guys were supposed to be at the funeral. They couldn't go. They had to, like, live stream in because the NHL changed the schedule last minute. And then they expect them to play a game immediately after the memorial service. Like, what a bunch of hooey.
Yeah, no, that was kind of Bush League there. Bush League. And I'm glad McDavid stood up, right? He's got the clout. He can basically say whatever he wants. What are they going to do? Get rid of him? I mean, you could, but that seems just like you might as well just quit, like, right? Like, instead of trading McDavid, just quit, you know? Save us, because it's going to happen anyway. So, Winnipeg Jets this week, they did all right. I know they beat up on the Leafs last night. Kind of kicked their butts a little bit on that.
Yeah, Jets. So I got to mention this because I did a look at them earlier in the week. They have the 29th worst expected goals for at 5-on-5. So that is, there are 2 teams that are worse than them. 14th in the league in actual goals for percentage. So they are like substantially outplaying their metrics across all strengths. So that is taking into power play time, penalty killing time. It's slightly better. I think they boost up to 23rd, maybe. Still bottom third of the league, but their actual goals for percentage jumps all the way up to 6th overall. So like there's a huge disconnect between what we are seeing and what we are getting. And I know I've harped on this before, but it's gonna come crashing down. Like it just doesn't make sense that they can continue to play at this level. And the one thing that I keep running through in my head is like, how are we not talking about Connor Hellebuck as an MVP, as the Hart Trophy candidate? Because he is everything to this team.
Yeah, I've been touting it. I'm like, he has to be the best goalie in the world. I know, Monday you were listening to any of the analysts, they were going off, Tampa Bay is going to win. They've got Vasilevsky, he's the best goalie. And I was like, no. If you have Victor Hedman and you have like quality players and you like a great group of forwards, great. Connor Hellebuck has Tucker Poolman playing in front of him, and he has all season. And Tucker Poolman has become a regular. Like, he's a top 4 defenseman only in Winnipeg, and yet they're doing as well, and he's playing, like, he's excelling above everything else. So, like, Connor Hellebuck has to be maybe the best goalie in the world. And I mean, the fact that he may not be, he has to win. We'll see. We'll see at the end. Maybe the stats, they kind of just are like stat whores in the NHL. So Vasilevsky might get it, but like Hellebuck, great.
Yeah, he has to be in the Hart conversation.
Yeah.
People have to start talking about Connor Hellebuck as a Hart nominee.
Yeah, 100%.
That's all I'm trying to say.
100%. And then we got Toronto. They made some moves. They lost to the Flames earlier this week, and then they got beat up by the Jets. They were missing William Nylander, who's still in a COVID protocol. Just trying to keep everybody safe there. Matthews was on the ice, and then apparently he was off the ice. So first on the ice, skated around for a bit, wasn't feeling it. Was a healthy scratch, or not a healthy scratch, just didn't dress against the Jets there. It's, So really, they're missing 3 of their top 6 forwards between Foligno, Nylander, and Tavares. Jack Campbell looked like he was human after all, and he wasn't just going to have a perfect 20-0 season, right? It happens.
That was the exactly point I was going to touch on, and that is Jack Campbell was due for regression. Like, he was going to come down. He was way above average in basically every metric measurable. This was going to happen. There was no avoiding it. It's good that it happened before the playoffs, because now we're getting the correction out before they get into the playoffs. I think they're safe atop the NHL North Division, I would say.
Well, based on their schedule, it looks like they've got Vancouver at least 3 more times, and at this point, like I'm gonna bet against Vancouver, but I feel really bad, and I realize we skipped them because really nothing's happened outside of the fact that JT Miller basically has come out and said, like, I don't want to play hockey anymore. I feel terrible. The fact they're making us do this is awful. It's not right. So I mean, if the game does go on Sunday, I wouldn't say bet everything on Toronto, but maybe bet some money on Toronto.
I missed that JT Miller comment, but that kind of...
Yeah.
I'm glad he said something. It was like a huge issue. I had no idea it infected this roster as much as they had. Yeah. 25 team members, all in all, 21 players, 4 staff members, when everything was said and done. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's got to be, like, I would say 80% of your team is now, like, COVID tested, and, like, the long-term ramifications, like, this is a team that is going to mail it in, and there are going to be some opportunities to bet against them.
Yep. Yeah, they're going to be big, like, not going to make a lot of money. It's going to be some high stakes, and maybe they'll squeak out a winner here, but, like, it's not going to be bad. If you're looking at the standings right now, I know there's a bunch of games played difference, but, like, Ottawa is close to surpassing the Canucks. They've got 3 games or 2 games next week against the Senators. I think Vancouver falls down, and they're probably looking at, like, a high lottery pick, top 5 this year. And there's a guy named Luke Hughes, who's one of the top prospects. So then all you got to do is trade for Jack, and you got triplets.
Is it actually Luke Hughes draft year?
It is a Luke Hughes.
I don't see how they don't pick him.
Oh, you by name alone, you have to. And then, like, your top line could be Hughes and Hughes. It's adorable. You get Jack. That's your overtime lineup. It's just the Hugheses.
Yeah, you know what? I think what I've learned from this podcast is that there's an NHL team that is missing out on some huge marketing opportunities by not employing Mick. Like, Mick is the guy you want making these calls. He's got a sweet mustache.
Marketability is my middle name.
Mick Marketability.
I mean, yeah, like, don't look at how much marketability this podcast has, and you'll be fine. Well, that wraps up headlines for this week. Be interesting going forward. A couple weeks left to go. I can't believe it. I'm going to choke. Let's get into my dirty fantasy. Look at a little gambling advice. I did not do well last week. I think I went with Connor McDavid over Austin Matthews. I was kind of toying between those three. One of them had like 4 points. One of them had 0 points. So hopefully he didn't listen to me.
Don't worry. I was also on the Connor McDavid train. But I can one-up you on this segment because listen to this. I think I mentioned, I was like, I'm going with Jonathan Bernier. Didn't look at, it was just probable. Didn't look at the starting goalie situation before puck drop. The Carolina Hurricanes did lose to Detroit, but it wasn't Jonathan Bernier in that. So that was really the difference between me and at least doubling up my money. Connor McDavid, 1.6 FanDuel fantasy points. Didn't do any favors. Matthews kept me alive with 52. Ehlers was a good showing. Alex Iafallo was good. Ryan Suter panned out. Goaltending and everyone else really fisted me, though.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. For sure. I think Mark Giordano, I had him at some point. He had like a penalty minute, a goal, assist. So like he might have been worth something, but overall, not our week. This week, however, is our week. Edit lineup. As you see, I've got the best lineup. I'm like, I have to cough, so I'm just going to talk kind of like raspy so I don't cough. Let's start in net. You know who just won the other day? The Buffalo Sabres. You know who does not win 2 games in a row? The Buffalo Sabres. So that means Tristan Jarry, guaranteed win. Ka-chink! That's him winning and not shooting basketballs. So I got him in net. I then randomly picked a defenseman, Mike Matheson. He plays for Pittsburgh. Sure, why not? I paired up with Brandon Montour, just based on the fact that I feel like a lot of the guys who have been traded this week have been making noise. You got the Taylor Halls, you got the Anthony Manthas. That's what I was going for. Speaking of Anthony Mantha, he made it into my lineup too. I got $4,900 against the Flyers. I don't hate that. That's kind of the bottom end of my lineup, and you're like, that doesn't sound very fun. Nick Suzuki and Josh Anderson at $5,100 and $4,300 respectively. Maybe Montreal gets a little bit of offense going against the Senators tomorrow. They lost the other night. I feel like maybe not. Maybe they won. Anyways, and then at the top, we got all the stars. We got Connor McDavid. Come on, Connor. And then I did a stack of Terry Panarin for $8,400 and Mika Zibanejad. They get the Devils, $7,600. Seems like a winner to me.
I see this approach. I see how it took shape in your head. I respect your methods. I also have Connor McDavid, which probably means that his arm's going to break tomorrow on some cheap-ass play. Connor McDavid, Mark Scheifele. I am picturing just an absolute shit show tomorrow night. I'm calling it 10-7. We're talking about a 10-7 Edmonton Oilers victory over the Winnipeg Jets. So I paired Scheifele with Kyle Connor on the wing, and Evander Kane. So San Jose is playing Minnesota 2 nights in a row. I don't think tonight's going to be their night. Obviously, it's not off to a good start. I have money on Minnesota, thank God, up 3-1. But I think tomorrow's going to get a little sloppy, so I have Evander Kane. He's going to have at least 2 goals, 1 on the power play. Defensively, I am taking Darnell Nurse to pair with McDavid. He seems to get some power play touches. He can find the back of the net himself. On defense, Dominic Kubalik. So I have the Chicago Blackhawks over the Detroit Red Wings. At least I'm leaning towards that. It's going to be, again, high-scoring game. Kubalik's one of those low-cost options that I paired with Jonas Brodin. I don't know how you pronounce his first name. He is Minnesota Wild defenseman playing against the Sharks. Like I said, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game tomorrow, so I figured it was probably worth including a Minnesota defenseman. I abandoned my typical Suter play for Brodin. I hope it doesn't come back to bite me in the ass. Utility players. Oh, no, sorry. Dominic Kubalik is one forward for the Chicago Blackhawks, so I don't know why I was talking about him as a defenseman. But again, I think Detroit gets just wheels beat off them tomorrow night. 6-3. No, actually, no, 6-5. The last, Matt Zuccarello, again, Minnesota Wild, high-scoring game in San Jose. And Elvis Merzlikins is starting in net for me. Dallas versus Columbus. If I were to tell you Dallas was playing Columbus, I guarantee you would think this game's going to end 1-0 in a shootout. And you would be right. That's why I think Elvis Lincoln's, he was, I think, $6,900, worth the investment against the Dallas Stars offense that doesn't really do too much.
Very true. I see that the over-under in that game is 5. I was like, nah, I won't go over 5. It probably won't. So
Definitely won't.
It definitely will not. There's not a lot of great hockey going on down there. So cool stuff. So this one's actually going, I think my last lineup didn't get, there was enough entries. That's what it was. And like we were like 2 minutes away from me loading it, and then it just disappeared, and I was like, oh. So cool stuff. Good luck. Good luck. I'm going to take that to heart. Might rework a couple things based on our conversation. Go from there. What if I get some more Jets? What if I could swap out Suzuki and Anderson for some Jets?
I think tomorrow's going to be a bad look for Montreal. We'll get to that in Bettor Advice. Just because second night of back-to-back, are they planning on playing Jake Allen in both games? Is Carey Price cleared? If not, I just don't see how. Like, Ottawa's playing this carefree brand of hockey. Like, Ottawa doesn't give a fuck. They're going to score 6 goals, and they're going to make you keep up. They don't even care about Matt Murray anymore. Matt Murray's dead to them. Matt Murray is just a hollow ghost in net that occasionally stops the puck. So
these are true stories. It happened to a friend of mine. So, Bettor Advice is our last segment. We're going to Grant's going to try and win you some money, and I'm just going to keep doing my thing.
The poop slinging.
Well, you know what? And I realized my issue was I got into a hole, and I started focusing on the hole and not on my strategy. I had a strategy earlier on in the season that was working. I should have stuck with it. I abandoned it. I didn't go back to it today, but during this podcast, I'm going to do it next week. I took some over-unders. I had I had like my guaranteed pick, and then I had like a long shot. That's what I was doing, and it was working, and then it stopped working, and then I abandoned it, and I've just been like panicking since then. So I'm going to keep panicking. That's how we're going to get out of this. I believe I lost last week. I had the Senators winning. No, I had the Senators in, straight up winning? Or was it an overtime bet?
You had Toronto, Ottawa in overtime.
Overtime. It was damn close. Like, I know the Leafs were up for a little bit there, but it was really, really close, and down to the end, empty net goal. Yeah, Toronto scored, but instantly, like kind of the next possession, Joe Thornton takes a penalty. Ottawa comes back down, ties it as like 6-5 or something like that. It was this close. So, Senators are kind of frisky. Like Grant said, they just basically don't care about their goalie anymore, and they're like, we're just going to play like 4 forwards. Don't worry about it. We got this. And then what happened to the other one? Tampa Bay. Whoever Tampa Bay was playing, like, it was like 2 goals, and I was like, well, that doesn't go over. That doesn't go over well, and I decided that the Oilers were better than the Flames. Who'd have thunk it? So, yeah, good job, me.
Yeah. I think, like, I see what you're doing. I respect the strategy, and I think I alluded to it if I didn't say it outright. Like, when you get down in a hole, it takes a mental toll on somebody. Like, it is hard to dig yourself out of that hole, and abandoning, like, the easiest way out of the hole is to hit a 6-game parlay and get back to even. Nobody wants to do it the hard way, where you start at minus $600 and slowly climb your way out. You've got a few weeks left in the season. You got a few live wagers on the Futures podcast that we did at the start of the season, and that kind of leaves us with, 4 weeks? Maybe 4 or 5 podcasts to get back to even. I believe in you. If you needed to hear this, if your confidence was anything less than a 10 out of 10, I believe in you.
Well, if we keep rolling through the postseason, too, based on what that schedule looks like, again, I could just say, like, okay, I'm down 600, and start fresh, and say, like, yeah, I realize I'm in a bit of a hole, but, like, from that point, I'm up, like, $200 or something, right? I could spin it to make it sound better, but I'm not going to do that today, because I'm stupid. I didn't decide to be smart today.
Mick put on the same pants he puts on every day.
And they fit, so that's exciting. All my Easter chocolate didn't go to my waistline, so... Hey-o! What are we going to do here? I don't like this. I was going to put a lot of money on the Penguins, but I kind of feel like at this point there's no line posted. I'm guessing it's like they're like a -2 something, maybe -300. Probably not worth my time. The Capitals, they were playing some pretty good hockey. They just lost to the Buffalo Sabres. You better bet your damn butt they're beating the Flyers tomorrow. So I'm going to take them. Then I also like the fact that I kind of feel like we're going to get over 6 goals in that Oilers-Jets affair. And if we parlayed that with an under in the Dallas-Columbus game. So, minus 135. Edmonton Oilers over 6 goals at minus 105. And the Dallas Stars under 5 goals at plus 115. If we parlay them all together, we're looking at a plus 3 or 631. Throw $100 on that. Guess what? I'm out of that hole. So we'll see what happens.
I can't wait till you get 2 pushes. It's going to be like 4-2 and 5-0, and you're going to instantly regret. But anyways, good luck. I am pulling for you to get back into this competition. I got 4 picks. I have 4 picks today.
Cool.
Last week, to recap, had 3 picks. Overtime, St. Louis, Minnesota hit. It was second game of back-to-back. I have employed that exact same strategy tomorrow on tomorrow night's date, and that is Ottawa versus Montreal. This is plus 410. Doesn't make sense to me. Picking that game to go overtime for $20. Another one, I had Jets plus 104 over the Habs. Memorial issue or standing circumstance, because that would have changed things for me. Like, I can't imagine having to go play after that. Anyways, getting back to this week. So my one overtime game, Ottawa versus Montreal. My other overtime game, Chicago at Detroit. I think this is a high-scoring game, plus 320, original 6 matchup. One of those kind of unassuming games, just gets there. $20 on that. Now, I have 2 underdogs, one of which is an exact contrast to what Mick was talking about earlier. And that is, I have the Buffalo Sabres over the Pittsburgh Penguins tomorrow at plus 235 for $30. Pittsburgh has been outplayed at 5-on-5 in 5 of their last 6 games. They've been skating by. They have this inflated PDO. It's going to come crashing down. Buffalo, they've been playing better, and it all has to do with Linus Ullmark. I gushed about it last week. Nothing has changed. Pittsburgh is going to hit a wall, and it's going to come against the Buffalo Sabres. I haven't parlayed that. I have also added a Florida Panthers money line at, what is that? My computer's all fucking.
Yeah, I just had it up because, plus something.
130.
130, cool.
Tampa Bay has been outplayed in 3 straight games. They got the wheels beat off them 7-2 in one of those games, but otherwise they came out on top in the other 2. Their metrics do not align with what is happening. They're, again, a team that we should expect regression from, and I am betting that comes against Florida, who, even without Aaron Ekblad, is still playing some top-notch hockey. They outplayed these guys last night, and they had the unfortunate circumstance of losing in overtime. Don't think that happens 2 nights in a row. Florida, plus 130 for $30.
Sweet. Sorry, how did you do last week? Did you... Because you had an overtime. What are you doing how are you doing on the season? You're must be doubling up?
I am plus. So on the season, I have wagered $1,200, and that includes the $100 from our podcast preview. I have returned just about $140, which is about 11.7%. So
sweet.
It's a grind. This hockey season is a grind. It always is a grind. But thankfully, I'm on top. I'm grinding the shit out of this from the top part. So it's the under grinding you don't like. You want to avoid the under grinding.
Yeah. I mean, really, and hockey is it's tough, man. It's not a 1 week. It's not a 1 week sport, right? Throwing out picks once a week. You gotta go watch the ebbs and flows, right? You got to see those things. If the Sabres win tomorrow, they're probably not winning the 3rd game. I'm guessing, right? Just kind of watching those things, because I feel like I was down and then I went up, and then I hit a couple plus. I think I hit a plus 800 ticket this week. Had a 14 parlay. Guess how much money I put on it?
$2.
Yeah, it was $1. I was like, but why? Why would you have it now? So, oh well, it's just one of those things. You have fun with it, and don't sweat the little stuff, right? So cool, good stuff. Well, looking for a kind of a fun day of hockey. Looks like there's going to be some good stuff. A couple entertaining matchups on a hockey night in Canada. Sunday, we got... Penguin Sabres on Sunday as well. That's... Seems interesting. Good for them. Vancouver on TSN. Sportsnet. Nice. We got a little Canucks Maple Leafs on Sunday night. Good times. Good times, yo.
So it's a 5-game schedule down to 4 games tonight. Then we have 12 games tomorrow. And again, it's a light Sunday. But I think we're going to get into the home stretch next week. Because I think, if I remember correctly, it was something like at least 8 games a night from Monday to Thursday. Friday falls off, and then we pick back up on the weekend. So
it's not terrible. The only thing I'm missing in my life, I need some dirty pictures to look at. Grant, can you help me out? Can you help a guy out? If I had a honk if you're horny sign, I'd be honking. Can you?
So I am going not as... So our Babe of the Week this week doesn't come with the amount of notoriety that Babes typically come with. And that is, normally I come to you with Babes of the Week who have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers. This is kind of like a girl next door vibe Babe of the Week. Her name is Memm Stapo, Stapo. She just does everything. She looks exactly like a girl that I would want to be friends with, and then befriend her to the point where it's like, I'm gonna now marry you. It just, I don't know, something about her just gets me going. Memm Stapo. I don't know.
Stapo.
She is our Babe of the Week.
Maybe there's a couple M Stapos, because the one I'm looking at here, she's got this picture with her tits hanging in this bikini thing.
Yeah, that sounds like the one.
All right.
You're 5 pictures down, 6 pictures down, something like that. Yeah, that's the one.
All right. Man, you had some hot neighbors growing up, so.
I guess I was lucky. I did have some Babes of the Week type neighbors. You know what? Maybe I will find them on Instagram and shout them out to next week's podcast.
Great. I was going to say, Old Man Ben. That's what I got. I was like, oh, hello, Mr. Ben. And he's like, oh, you want to do some yard work for a quarter? And I was like, I guess, whatever. So that's it. That's how we're going to leave you. We're doing yard work for a quarter, so.
You got to do it with your shirt off, though. Those are the rules.
Naturally. I was going to sit here and drink my sweet tea. So, just like we always say, party on, Grant.
Party on, Mick. We will see everybody next week.
Goodbye.